Hello everyone and welcome to this week of First and 10. I of course am joined by the ultimate warrior to my macho man Randy Savage, Matt Etchier. Exciting week, I'd say, in the NFL, Matt. You know, we had a lot of interesting games. A lot of games come down to the wire. One game went way past the wire. We had our first tie for the first time since 2008 in the National Football League. We had a lot of quarterbacks get a little bit banged up.
A little bit.
And not only just the NFL, we had a quarterback get a little bit banged up in the CFL. Two quarterbacks get banged up in the CFL. One came through and the other one was carted off on the field.
Oh, that was disgusting.
Yeah, well, I have not seen the actual replay of that, but it was a little scary. But we'll keep this strictly for now, as of this moment, to the NFL. Yeah. But like I said, it was a big week for us in the NFL. Pick'ems, I think, went quite well for both you and I. The Sunday Nighter, it kind of went the way I picked it on the show, folks. Let's be real. I said it'd come down to special teams, and if the Bears had nailed that extra field goal, they may have been in the game a little bit more. So, point me. Because I called that game. I wish I had the guts, though, to actually, in the Pick'ems, go with Houston, because I didn't have the guts to do it, but Houston looking really strong going on here. But, I guess, you know, we mentioned it up the top here. The first tie since 2008 in the National Football League in that grueling battle, dare I say, between the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Rams. For the Rams, though, I really feel bad for them about that, because not only did, you know, they actually, to me, they really outplayed the 49ers, and they looked really good in that game, with the except for when San Francisco, you know, kind of took the lead and looked like they were about to win it. But the Rams, in their credit, they battled back to force overtime. They got the luck of the football gods, as David Akers missed, the karate man. He missed a field goal. Yeah. And then they drove down the field and kicked a field goal their own right, and they played sloppy and got a penalty. So, I mean, this is the first time, like I said, since 2008, since that atrocious game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cincinnati Bengals.
When McNabb didn't realize it could end in a tie.
Yeah, so I guess my question for you is, I mean, ties are something that in most major sports in North America, they seem to be eliminating them. The NHL did it a couple years ago. There's no such things ever in ties in baseball. The NBA, there's not such things as ties. What are your thoughts? Do you think the NFL is going to eliminate ties next year? I mean, they've basically changed the entire overtime, so eliminating ties is the last thing. Do you think that's something they do next year?
I think it's definitely something they need to take a look at. As a fan, you want to go to a game or you want to watch a game and you want to see a winner and a loser. Whether it's regular season or postseason, it doesn't matter if you paid for that ticket. That's what sports are all about. You go there to watch a team win and to watch another team lose. Now, with that said, there's only been 18 ties since 1974, so it doesn't happen all that often. But when it does, it is very, well, not necessarily memorable, but recognizable. Like, I still remember very vividly the Eagles and the Bengals tie in 2008. And now this one, and it just kind of messes everything up. Like, all the other teams, you know, have two numbers in their standings. Now these ones have 3. It's just kind of weird, but I think the biggest point is, as you already brought up, the other major sports, hockey, basketball, and baseball, all don't have ties in the regular season. And I think like that's a big thing. Fans go to see someone win, someone lose. NFL's got to take a look into that. Now, NCAA and CFL both have possession-style overtimes, where the offense gets a turn on the one team and then the other offense gets a turn, and you just kind of go back and forth until someone wins the game. Someone gets more points than the other on a possession. I really think the NFL needs to take a look into that. And we want winners. We don't want to see someone tie. It's so ridiculous to watch a 60-minute plus game and then you still don't get a winner.
Exactly. I think the NFL definitely needs to listen to the Mike Singletary rant of he wants winners, we want winners. So that's basically the way the cookie crumbles when it comes to that. We definitely want winners. But, moving on to next week, speaking teams that definitely weren't winners last week, one for sure wasn't a winner is the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills for this week. It's our Thursday night game, and I think, well, for me, it's a big deal. I mean, it's for a chance for a lot of America to see the Buffalo Bills, and I will say, they didn't win against the Patriots last week, and they haven't won in New England since the year 2000, since I was making arts and crafts in the 5th grade. But I will say this, they played a very competitive game. They're a scrappy team. There's something you can't disagree with that. The Buffalo Bills are like how I like my women, scrappy. And that's something I'm going to give them credit for. They could have been totally blown out in that game again, but they showed the heart and intestinal fortitude, like the city of Buffalo, to go out there and make it close. And unfortunately, a pick in the end zone just hurts us, and some sloppy plays. We could have scored another touchdown on the previous drive, but Fred Jackson fumbles in the red zone. Heartbreak for me. Just that team always has our number, and if you wonder why, folks, when the Patriots make 8,000 Super Bowls, I will always root for the NFC team every time, because they break my heart in the regular season every year, so I cannot like any New England game ever. Now, Miami, though, there's their opponents, and Miami comes into Buffalo after getting crushed by the Tennessee Titans in a game they really shouldn't have been crushed in. But then again, I believe when you're the Titans and you give up 51, you have a chip on your shoulder. So that's what they went to show to Miami, and that leads me to thinking here for my pick. Miami let up 37 against the Titans. I would feel they have a chip on their shoulder now. They gotta wipe that slate clean. So I'm gonna take Miami here. And plus Miami had our number last year, so I'm gonna take Miami.
All right, this is an interesting matchup. I think you should watch both these teams. As much as it doesn't really matter, I don't think either team's gonna make the playoffs at this point.
No. Buffalo definitely not.
I think the matchup's a very interesting one. It will be a close game. I gotta go with Miami though as well. Buffalo defense, I'm just not too sure about it. I know they were playing against the Patriots, a very explosive offense last week, but they just got picked apart. And Miami with Reggie Bush, I think they can run against the Bills. Their rush defense isn't that good, as well as Tannehill. He didn't play all that bad in the loss. Miami's kind of the same as Buffalo. They don't really have a lot of those really skilled playmakers, like kind of game changers. They have to play a consistent game throughout, and I think Miami has the better chance of doing that, even though it's in Buffalo. Still got to go with Miami. Just think they're the better team, and I think that they're going to be bouncing back from that bad loss.
I think the big key for the Bills in this game, when they played defensively, is to not be sloppy. They gave up like an unheard of amount of penalties in that game, and that hurts you. I mean, that gives the teams free first, and like especially last week, you can't give Tom Brady free first downs. You cannot do that because he's going to make you pay, and he definitely did. I don't think you can do the same here. And you brought up the point of our rush defense being definitely terrible, and Reggie Bush last year had a pretty good game against us in Buffalo, so I could definitely see that. The one positive thing I think for this game, though, is that the Ralph Wilson Stadium has been sold out, so it's going to be a good crowd for a good Thursday night football.
Sure, yeah.
So I think that's good for Thursday night football, especially considering last week in Jacksonville there were home fans with bags on their head for the bag wires. So there's that. But, I'm taking Miami, but I would love to see Buffalo win. I'd love to see Buffalo finally get off the losing end of these games and get a win, especially against a division rival like Miami. But moving down to the Sunday portion of our game, we got a big game to watch here. We just got finished talking about New England getting a big victory, basically a survival-style victory against the Buffalo Bills. Well, they're playing a team that has not been in survival mode as much as I thought they would be, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, these two teams have a great history between each other with Brady and Manning, but now it's going to take a new chapter here with Andrew Luck versus Tom Brady. And what I think could be a really exciting matchup, I mean, these are both elite offenses. The Colts are on a 4-game winning streak. I mean, they're playing some of the best football in the NFL, definitely. And, the Pats are on a 3-game win streak in their own right. But, I really think that the Colts' mix of experience and youth could lead them to a victory here, because the Pats, when it got down to crucial time, if it wasn't for a poor throw and a poor mix-up there from Fitzpatrick and his receiver, they may have won the game or at least send it to overtime. So I may lean with the road team here, Indianapolis getting the big upset against the defending AFC champion New England Patriots.
It's going to be a great game, as you said. Both top 5 offenses, high-scoring game. And with Luck, he's going up against the 29th ranked pass defense. So I feel like, especially by having that Thursday nighter last week, they've had a few extra days to scheme this defense. I think Luck can definitely has an opportunity here to pick them apart. The whole team does. Neither defense really that great, so like I said, it's going to be high scoring. Now, and you also have to remember, the Colts' first big win that kind of put them on the board, put them as a contender, was against a team who a lot of people would compare to the Patriots, the Green Bay Packers. Also explosive offense and defense and pass defense, maybe not so good. So Indianapolis, it's not like they're going up against something that they don't know before. They haven't seen yet. They have a chance to beat this Patriots team, and I agree with you. I think Indy's going to go in. Patriots have kind of given up some games that they could have won this year against some opponents on paper they should have beaten. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that Indy could get a win, and I'm picking them.
I think you got to pick them for not just the fact of, the poor defense that the Patriots really do have, but, I mean, the Colts have this whole other mentality. They have like a new swagger, if you will. I mean, they're not just playing good football, but they're confident. I mean, they all shaved their heads last week for their coach Chuck Pagano, who we talked about last week, battling leukemia. So it's a whole other swagger and other element. I mean, they're playing at another level, for their coach, like we've already talked about. But I think that's definitely something that's going to help them going into New England. And, like you said, the Patriots, I kind of look at this like when the Patriots went up to Seattle and played the Seahawks. They really should have beat them, and they were beating them pretty outright, but, the youth and experience of the Seahawks with Russell Wilson went out there and came back to get the win against New England, and I could see this youth beating that kind of over-the-hill defense and some inexperienced rookies out there on the Patriots. So look out for Indianapolis, and they're a playoff-bound team, something I actually didn't think would happen for at least another season. But moving down to Sunday night, it's, NBC's been building this up for sure as one of the biggest rivalries in football, and it really is. However, I would say it takes a bit of a hit because Ben Roethlisberger may not play in the game. I mean, knowing Ben Roethlisberger, he'll juice up or take his vitamins, his spinach, something to get out there and get on the field to take on Baltimore. But a separated shoulder or strained shoulder or whatever it is with his shoulder, it's nothing you want to mess with. I don't know. Was it his throwing arm that he hurt?
It was his throwing arm.
So that's something you definitely do not want to mess with. Especially, because Pittsburgh, in reality, is another wild card team. I could potentially see Indy and Pittsburgh meeting each other in the playoffs, at least at wild card level. But Baltimore is a team, though, that has been really rolling since they got dominated by the Texans, especially they last week just dominated the Oakland Raiders. I mean, putting up 55 points, setting a team record for total points in the game. Really, I'm just having so much faith right now in Baltimore back into being, one of the Super Bowl or at least AFC Championship contenders. It kind of went off the bandwagon there when they got dominated by Houston, but the way they're playing right now, I think is going to be crucial. Plus, Pittsburgh's going to have Byron Leftwich in there. And now, we're just talking, and we'll probably bring this conversation on air that we had off air, but, I mean, Byron Leftwich, don't get me wrong, he to me was, and I'll use was as the word, a good quarterback. He was the man in Jacksonville, and I always felt it was kind of awkward how they kind of just shoved him to the sidelines when Coach Jack Del Rio kept playing mind games on everyone and decided to go with David Garrard. And Garrard's a good quarterback in his own right, but I felt Leftwich was the perfect guy. And Leftwich took the Jags to a playoff spot. They had a wild card berth against the Patriots. But then after Jacksonville, he goes to Atlanta. And I'm thinking, great, he's going to back up Vic because, Vic's prone to get hurt, and we're still seeing that today. And what happens? He's out of shape, and he can't even make the team. So what's up with that? And now he's been sitting behind Ben Roethlisberger for the past, 6 seasons or so, and he's really not had that much playing ability. Now, I didn't really get to watch the Monday night or last night, or the whenever you're watching this, but, I still don't see Byron Leftwich. Now, he's an exciting player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he, especially, in his first full week as the starter, is going to be able to handle that Raven defense or anything of that nature. So I'm leaning with Baltimore. Another road team I think is going to get the job done, and I think it's going to be a long night for Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, it's before this week. I would have said before the Monday Nighter, Pittsburgh. I mean, especially after they beat my Giants, who have been struggling lately pretty badly. But they've been looking good. They've been on a roll. Then, of course, the Monday Nighter happens. Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt. They barely beat Kansas City. Has to go into overtime in order to beat them. And they didn't look like the Pittsburgh team that you knew from a couple weeks ago. So it's very interesting. It doesn't sound like Ben's gonna play. I think if Ben plays, he always plays better injured, I think, anyway. So I gotta go with Pittsburgh if Ben plays, but I don't think he's going to. This Baltimore defense, though, we actually did discuss it when Ray Lewis got hurt and Webb got hurt. They haven't been the same since. The defense just hasn't looked that good. They keep dropping in the standings, and they continue to get wins, but I don't know. It just makes it look a lot closer. I do agree with you. As much as I think Leftwich is a good backup, I don't think that he's going to be able to lead the Steelers to a win. And so if Leftwich is in there, Baltimore. If Ben's in there, I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we can allow that. I mean, I don't know if we can allow you to take both sides. It's one team's gonna win. It's not gonna be like last week where one team
team will win. It just depends on which quarterback starts.
Well, this is do or die, gun to your head. Which team is gonna win?
All right. Well, I gotta go with Baltimore.
Okay, there we go.
Because I don't think Ben's gonna start.
Okay, so thank you for making a job not hard, extremely hard, but. Yeah, I mean, with no Roethlisberger, I think Pittsburgh struggles at offense, and because he's the leader of the team, and he may not be there out there getting the job done. But another quarterback that bit the dust this past week in the NFL, which continues us to our next topic here. I mean, quarterbacks, what a rough week for you. I mean, we know it's the toughest job out there, but this week definitely proved it. Now, Roethlisberger, at least his injury is a shoulder injury. I mean, you can put some ice on that. Just take a week off. You're gonna be fine, and we know that the bone will heal. That's a simple, straightforward injury. But most of the quarterbacks in the NFL this week, they took some injuries that, we never really know what the long-term aspects of are. And we're talking about concussions in pro football. The 49ers lost Alex Smith. Michael Vick was out in the Eagles game, and he took some nasty hits. The one that really gave him the concussion was when he went face first. I don't know just how he fell awkwardly at the second hit, but and Cutler, by the way, if you saw the hit Jay Cutler took, I mean, that play was insult to injuries. That was a concussion, and your forward pass didn't even count because you were on the line of scrimmage. But I mean, concussions in the game of football are something that are definitely an issue that needs to be worried about. And I am glad to see the NFL really taking this seriously, because a couple years ago they thought it was, oh, don't worry about it, nothing of the sort. But then when you find, see all these stories and you actually examine the brains of, former players that, had perished, you just really see how dangerous a concussion really is. I mean, your life can just change on that one hit forever, and that's just something that I'm happy to see the NFL taking a look at and, deciding, hey, there's a lot of tests you got to pass and stuff of that nature. And it's something that I'm glad they're taking seriously, because I know most of the fans out here won't get to see it, but in the CFL, the Calgary Stampeders quarterback Drew Tate took a hit, and it was a head-to-head hit, and it was a nasty hit, and he seemed like he was hurt or potentially concussed. And then when they went out for the second half, they interviewed him, and he said something. They asked him about his performance in how that hit was. He's like, oh, I don't even remember the first half. And it's this whole upstorm here of, hey, can't believe the Stampeders let their quarterback go out there with a potential concussion. Now, he may actually not have had one. He just wanted to say something.
I think he was joking.
I think he was joking, but just how he said it. But how he said it and what the subject was, it's never gonna come off funny. No. I mean, it was a rough week for quarterbacks. Not just the injuries, but if you watch the Bills Patriot game, Fitzpatrick took a hit that was totally helmet on helmet, and his helmet comes off, and I mean, understand, like, sometimes there may be like an accident of like your head going into someone, but like that hit in particular. But I don't know. What do you think about how the NFL's handling the concussions and these teams now are going to be out with a star player for at least 1 week?
Yeah, one of my biggest worries about this is those 3 quarterbacks we mentioned. I believe the only one who didn't come out initially after the hit was Michael Vick. He came out, and the reason he came out was because it was a 3rd down. The other 2 players got hit and continued to play at least another drive, which is kind of scary to me. I know it may seem kind of ridiculous that every time the quarterback gets hit in the head, you have to check them for a concussion or whatnot. But concussions are a very dangerous thing, and I do agree with you. I think the NFL has taken a lot of great steps in preventing the concussions. But man, this is worrisome for the NFL and for football in general. They just become such a part of the culture now. Like, it happens every week. And I mean, we talk about these 3 quarterbacks. I don't know, probably some other players got concussions this week as well. We just haven't heard about them. And it's through all levels as well. And my issue with it is something has to be done, like even bigger, to prevent them. Because if you're a parent right now and your kid wants to play football, I think you're really thinking twice about it. Just because we're learning about all these long-term ramifications of concussions and about how if you get 1, you're more susceptible for another, and if you get 2, you're even more susceptible, and Alzheimer's and all these terrible things that come from concussions. I wouldn't want my kids playing football, not right now, not in the way that it is. And the issue is, I don't know what to do. How do you prevent concussions any more than the NFL has without really hurting the game? Already people complain that the quarterbacks are too protected, that the receivers are too protected. Football's a violent sport, and a lot of people watch it for the violence. Now, violence doesn't necessarily mean you want someone to get hurt, you want someone to get concussed, but you like to see hits, you like to see good, clean, solid hits and some good aggression in NFL. And the more you prevent concussions, the less aggression there's going to be in the game. So it's a hard thing to do to prevent concussions and to still keep the essence of football. So it's going to be interesting going forward. We'll see what happens. It really is too bad, and NFL's in a tough spot, and football in general.
Well, I mean, with your point here of putting kids in the game, it's something that's gonna happen no matter what. But I think putting concussions is a flag that you're throwing up there. That's something you don't necessarily. It's a risk you're willing to take. But I think the game of football is just if your kid wants to play football, let them go have it. I mean, there's plenty of good things you learn in the game, like team building, and you develop some good friendships doing it. So I wouldn't let the risk of a concussion definitely throw me away from not putting my kid in there. I think that's one of my things, is that society is becoming too protective of everything. Just if the kid wants to play, let him play. And I think they're teaching kids how to play the game at a safer rate than maybe some of the guys growing up. I mean, there's all these programs, how to hit properly, don't lean with your chin because you're going to get, a concussion, obviously. They're teaching you proper ways how to do that. So I think the game's being taught at a safer rate, but, it's a contact sport, and that with, any contact sport, concussions are bound to happen. And, no matter what, like, if you find out you have a concussion, I think they're doing the right thing. And, not just the NFL, but any sport that allows, that has, hitting and physicality is a part of it. They're just, hey, take some serious time off, make sure you pass all these tests, and then we'll let you get back in there. I mean, concussions are inevitable, but there's nothing, I think, in the game of football you can do to totally remove concussions as much as, everyone would like. It's something I think we're going to have to live with forever. So there's that, but I mean, there's 2 quarterbacks that we already talked about that suffered concussions that affect the Monday night game, and that's the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers in a game that, everyone was really, really excited about. I think because they've lost, both teams didn't get wins last week. The 49ers we already talked about, they didn't lose either, they tied. But, they don't have their star quarterbacks out here, which really are explosive for that offense. I mean, the 49ers at least got Frank Gore still. And I think Colin Kaepernick, he's an exciting quarterback in his own right. And the Bears will have Jason Campbell, who is, to me, you know, if you're going to have a backup, I think he's the best backup out there. He definitely got it done in Oakland and a little bit there in Washington for a while, in his time in Washington. So I think that this is definitely still an important matchup. I think the Bears definitely need the win more so than the 49ers. Because the Bears actually suffered a loss, and you know, a lot of their momentum was kind of taken away. Now, granted, the weather at Soldier was terrible. That was an awful field, and that was, you know, a sluggish-ish game. And offensively, they didn't click on any ways. But I think Campbell having a full week to be with that offense and, you know, learn, you know, certain mannerisms of his receivers, I think that's going to be a good thing for the Bears. So I may lean with Chicago here. I think their defense is just that much better than the 49ers. Their real thing still will be to stop the run of Gore and, you know, Kaepernick in his own right. And if the Bears even want to call some trickery, they may have to, because the 49ers got bit on 2 fake punts last week by the Rams. So what's your take on this game?
Jay, I'm excited for this game. Even with the quarterbacks out, I don't think really the quarterbacks are a huge part of these offenses. Both offenses have been pass offenses have been struggling lately. Forte and Gore are the 2 offensive powerhouses on both these teams, and then of course their defense. Really, both teams' defense is what most of their wins are built on. And because of that, I got to go with Chicago, just because the Chicago defense, I think, can create more points, especially if the backup quarterbacks are in there. I think Bears can create some good turnovers. Although it hasn't actually been said yet, especially since they have an extra day. I think both quarterbacks may start. A lot of the times, depending on how bad the concussions are, which with Alex Smith and Cutler, it doesn't sound like they're that bad. Today they were saying that the quarterbacks are already feeling a lot better. So I think they may be starting on Monday. So hopefully they do, because that will make this even more of an exciting matchup. But I still got to go with Chicago, just on the fact that their defense, and also I think Chicago's pass offense is just slightly better than San Francisco. I don't know what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers. Their pass offense, they've dropped all the way to 28th in the league. And after that amazing start that they had, they've just kind of leveled off there. Their run offense is still great, but if they get down in games, I really question their ability to come back if they're down by more than a possession. So we'll have to take a look at that, but I'm taking the Bears, even though it's in Candlestick, but it should be a good defensive battle, and it should be a lot of fun.
I guess, lastly, before we move on to the end of the show here, do you still see this one as the potential? Because this is what I still see as a potential NFC Championship game. Is there any other team that you could potentially see knock out one of these 2 teams to be in that game?
I mean, yeah, I think, you can definitely make an argument about it. Defense wins championships, right? And when you have 2 defenses as solid as those 2, it's hard to question them.
So you're still going to say this is the NFC Championship game, potentially, because this is still what I still see. I think that, you know, the 49ers pick it up in the pass offense. They have too many weapons for them not to. And I think the Bears just had a bad week against a really good team and terrible elements. So I still see that, but I'm taking the Bears here at Candlestick. Moving on to the end of the show, though, it's our quick pick segments, and we actually got music for this segment now, so it's pretty dope. It is pretty dope. Moving here to quick picks, the Eagles take on the Redskins with no Michael Vick and RG3 coming off the bye week. Who you liking?
Told you, I'm never picking the Eagles again. RG3 and the Redskins.
RG3 and the Redskins. I'll take the Eagles just on the backup quarterback here. I don't think he played that bad, but and the Redskins have really, really struggled. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs, one team dominating a defending Super Bowl champion, and the one team really making it close against a playoff team last week. Who you like between the Bengals and Chiefs?
Andy Dalton and Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, how about them Bengals? Who they? Jets and Rams.
You know, St. Louis looked so good last week. I gotta go with St. Louis.
I gotta go with St. Louis. Also, it is in St. Louis, and the Jets are just in a whole other world of awful right now. Yep. The Packers and Lions in a nice divisional matchup.
Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay as well. I think the time for the Lions making the playoffs or being a contender over. Tampa Bay and Carolina, and what could be a good matchup here, actually?
Yeah, that one looks fun. Tampa Bay, though.
Tampa Bay, they have all the momentum, and the way the Panthers got dominated home by, now granted it was Peyton, but still, Bucks, Muscle Hamster, Freeman, Vincent Jackson, that team, dominant, and potentially wild card bound in the NFC. Dougie Martin.
Oh, man.
Rookie of the year. But that's it for this week. We'll be back for next week to have all the happenings in the NFL. So please remember, same Batman time, same Batman channel. That's it for this week. Peace.